Hey guys, I got a great video today on how to keep private lenders happy and to make sure that they're with you for a long time, right? Because a lot of you are making big mistakes in your business when you're starting to raise private capital. Now, I'm going to quickly touch on the two different types of financing. You can have debt financing or you can have joint venture equity financing. So debt finance loan would be where they say you borrow $100,000 at 12% interest over the year. So they're going to make $12,000, right? Or you can do an equity partnership where they loan you $100,000, you flip the house, and whatever the profit is, you split 50-50. So say you make 30 grand, you get 15 apiece. If you make 20, you make 10 apiece. If you make 10, you get 5 apiece. So those are the two types of lenders. So here's what's very important, guys. This is very important. Step number one, to keep your lenders happy and to keep your lenders with you for a long time, do what you say you're going to do, right? Because so many of you just do not do what you say you're going to do. You're either misleading on purpose to get into a loan or you're misleading on accident. So say you tell that joint venture equity partner that, hey, we're looking at making $30,000 on this flip because you can't go get a hard money loan or you can't go get a bank loan or you're out of credit lines or you're out of money on your own, but you have to get this deal done. And you may think you're going to make 30 or you may be wrong or you just don't know and you're guessing. It's not the way to do the business because what happens is they're lending on expectations that you led them to believe, right? That they're going to be able to make $30,000. So that's how they're running their calculations. So if you're misleading them to get their money into play and then you let them down, it's a bad problem for you and it's a bad problem for them because they make less on their money, so you actually hurt them. And then they're never going to lend on your projects again because, you didn't do what you said you're going to do. So underestimate the profit. So say you think you're going to make 30, say you're going to make 20 or something like that. So in case you have some little wiggle room, right? So you're not looking like a fool, because this has happened to me, it happens to everybody I know. Sometime down the line of their career, if they're doing enough deals, it's going to happen to you and it's not going to be good, and you're lucky if that lender stays with you. The other thing is, what if that lender has other obligations with that money and is already kind of in their mind delegated to a different project 6 or 7 months down the road, and you tell them you can do that job in 4 months? What's going to happen if you go over, right? And it goes into 5 months and 6 months and 7 months, and now that job, that big construction project or that apartment complex syndication type of deal that they were in, that everybody else was counting on them, is now in jeopardy because of you going over on your project because you didn't know what you're going to do. I promise you this: they're going to not lend on your deals again. They're going to be thinking, how can I get away from this guy as fast as possible? And you, as an investor, need to keep your existing lenders. It's hard to raise money, so when you have good lenders, you want to keep them in play. So here's another way to do it, and this one's going to shock you. It's going to blow your mind, guys. Here's a good way to keep your lenders. Pay them, right? I know that's kind of, for a lot of you, seems like common sense because it should be, but unfortunately too many of y'all are not paying your lenders, you're not paying them in time, and you're not paying them in the full amount that they should be paid. You're giving half payments or whatever. So it may be because you ran out of money, it may be because you took that money and you're trying to catch up on another project, or you took that money to the mall, or whatever you did, guys. This is why you got to be careful. Don't rob Peter to pay Paul and try to catch up other projects with other people's money that was lent to you on a certain project. This is how a lot of people go out of business and get caught up and end up getting foreclosed on and go through bankruptcy. And it's how a lot of businesses get destroyed. So be careful. But it may not be because you made mistakes with the money, and it may be because you have the money to pay them, but you just, I don't know if incompetence is not the right word, is that maybe you're just disorganized and you got so much going on, because as a business owner, we all know how things can just kind of get to the chaotic stage real fast. And it's hard once you have a lot of houses, say you're flipping 8 or 10 houses at once, to keep track of all these lenders' payments. And you may have just lost track of when you were supposed to make that next payment. So if you're consistently 2 or 3 days late, or you're having to make half payments, guys, it looks really, really bad for you. And now that lender's going to take the money and say, yeah, and smile at you, but in their head, they're thinking, they're looking around, who can I replace this guy with first, right? They're trying to figure out how to get rid of you, So you got to pay them on time. Especially just pay them. I know a lot of investors that just don't pay these guys, and it's a big problem, and there's fraud and scams going on all over. So as a lender, make sure you know who you're working with. Don't ever lend out all the rehab at once. Lend it out in draws. And as an investor, on the investor side, just do what you say you're going to do and pay these investors on time, or these lenders on time, because they're going to share good things about you. They're going to tell their friends and their family, hey, this guy, I lent him this money, he brought me back this extra return, and he paid me on time every time, and it's working great. What do you think is going to happen? It's a snowball effect. That's how your money comes in, because it's hard to raise money in the beginning, but then once you start raising money and doing good by your lenders, it's like money just starts coming out of everywhere, and then you have all these options, and then you as an investor get to cherry pick and choose what's the cheapest money, what's the best type of loan for me. So I'm going to go on to the last one right here. This is the single most important thing when working with private lenders, especially on debt finance lenders, is keep their money in play, right? So let's say you're borrowing money at 12%, $100,000. That lender's expecting to make 12 grand a year. That's why he fights so hard to get 12%. You may be saying, well, I want 10. He's saying, I want 15, and y'all settle on 12. He fought for 12 because he wants that as a good return. He may be able to get 8 somewhere else or 6 somewhere else, but he's thinking, I need 12. So what happens is you borrow that money. It takes you 4 months to do the full project, maybe 2 months to rehab it, a month to sell it, and a month to close on it, right? So now you paid him back 4 months later, but you're not efficient at what you do. You're not prepared to put his money back into play in another transaction, right? You don't have another deal lined up. And so let's just say it took you 2 months, right? It took you 2 months to get that guy's money back in play. And then he lands on it, he's like, okay, well, things went well. And then you go do another house, and it takes you 4 months again. You get all that money back to him, you complete the project, same thing, same process. You pay him back in 4 months again, and now his money's back out of play for 2 months again because you just didn't learn from your mistake last time, and you had to get, and you still couldn't find another deal. And for whatever reason, you're just in a low inventory market, or you're not doing good with your marketing, but you just don't have another deal for him to go into. So what happens? If you look at that, that's 4 months in play, 2 months off, 4 months in play, 2 months off. So really he's got 8 months of his money in action, earning interest rate, in 4 months where he's not. So that 12% interest rate in his head, right, was now reduced down to 8%. 8% is not that good compared to 12%. It's only 2/3 of it, right? So they may be looking for another investor, right, that's going to keep their money in play. So what do? You try to make sure you keep in tandem the closing dates, right? You want to close on the sale of your house and close on the purchase, your sales date and your acquisition date within a day if you can. So it takes some, planning, some strategic planning and some aligning on these closings. And yes, it's a little difficult, but it's easily done if you pay attention and you're looking out for your lender and you're respecting your lender because you want to keep them around. This is the same thing that happens with contractors, guys. Contractors, the same thing. It's very hard to find good ones. It's very hard to find good crews, and you want to make sure that you have work for them 365 days a year, because if you don't, they're going to be looking for other work. And so you want to keep them in play and have another house lined up for them to go to right after, because if you don't, they're looking for another investor. They're not going to wait around for you, and you're going to lose these crews. And so I actually know people who, if they don't have properties lined up that are good deals, say they're trying to make $25,000 a flip, they may not have another property lined up, right? So they may take a like a real thin deal that they know they may lose a few grand on, or break even, or just make a couple grand, just to keep their lender's money in play, just to keep those contractors around, because those contractors, if they're good, can save you thousands of dollars, and not to mention the financial savings, the emotional headache, and the stress that you go through. Because if you've ever had bad contractors, guys, it's very stressful, right? Because they're not telling you what they're going to do on time. They're not holding their word to you. So they tell you you're going to have it done in 3 months, and then it takes 5 months, and you told your lender it's going to take 3 months, and now it's 5 months, and so it creates this daisy chain where everybody gets thrown off, right? So even if you have to keep someone in play to keep your lender or your contractors around, and you lose $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 on a house because you had to just do one, what's the upside of that? Well, you're going to save more money than you would having to go find a new lender and market for new lenders and put all that time in to create a new relationship. And the same thing with contractors. Those contractors may save you $3,000 or $4,000 a deal, so the next deal you catch it up anyways, right? So just think about this, guys. When you have your lenders, if you want lenders to bring you other lenders and you want your business to grow, you have to do these things. Do what you say you're going to do. Don't misrepresent how long it's going to take or how much they're going to make, right? Number 2, pay them. Don't pay them half payments. Don't pay them late, and pay them in full when you said you're going to do it. I know it's tough to do something that's so easy like that. I just don't understand, but it's a common problem in this business that we're in, that people just don't pay their lenders and they don't pay them on time. And the last thing, do everything in your power to keep those lenders' money in play, to keep your contractors in play, because it's going to keep good people around you. They're going to have good things to say about you, and it's going to help bring referral business. It's going to grow your business. You're helping them out with their business, and it's just a win-win-win for everybody. So I hope these quick tips help on the best ways to keep your lenders around and happy, and hopefully you're able to do so. I'll see you next time.